Unfortunately, we live in a world where all the men write these roles, and they all want thin women, I guess, that they could rescue. So that she and I got upset, and I said, well, why does it have to be that way? They said, well, I guess because men do all the writing. I got really angry, and I was like, well, it shouldn't be that way. Because you know what? Real women get laid, you know. Real women have kids. Real women have all kinds of things, you know. And we even have more orgasms than thin women, I found out. Anyway.
I want to start off, first of all, by thanking you. Thanking you for all that you've done for our community. Because you are not only a playwright, a screenwriter, an author, a cook, a chef, a mother, a certified life coach with other certifications. But you have given back consistently to East LA for the last Boyle Heights for the last 20-some years.
That's right.
That you really started giving back early in your career. You didn't wait till, one day when I make it.
Yeah.
You were really hitting it immediately. I bow down to you.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to tell you, I bow down to you because it's not an easy feat what you have done. There are people that start out to do good, but then they get burned out. But you have been so consistent. And I remember going to see you at the little theater. You took what was in your hand and you made it work.
That's right.
And you didn't complain. You were like, I got this. This is what I got. You know, some people would say, well, I'm not going to start in a storefront theater. And you said, I'm starting in a storefront and it's going to kick butt.
Well, what's so great about theater is that all you need are two people, a person to tell the truth and one person to witness it. Theater can be done anywhere. So to me, I didn't come with like, oh, you need lights and costumes. To me, it's like, no, we want to tell the truth and we want people to see it and witness it. And theater can happen anywhere. And that's how come to me starting in a storefront is like, no. This is a location that will not intimidate people. That the community can say, oh, okay, let's go in. It's not like a stuffy theater that makes you feel like you're an outsider, like you don't belong. It's a little space that anyone can walk in and be like, oh, okay, yeah, this theater is like this. Wow, theater's for me.
With that said, I want to start with your beginnings. You were born in the world as a force. And I want to talk about you coming here from Mexico.
I'm one of 8 kids, right? So
where do you fall in?
I'm number 6.
Oh,
right.
okay.
I'm a middle child because that's
nobody
why
was listening.
Like, come on, no one's looking at me. Invisible. Yeah. Believe me, it's my trauma drama. Yeah. I'm honest with people. Yeah, I'm a middle child. What else would I be? You know, like if I was the older one, I'd get all the attention. If I was the younger one, I'd get all the love. So my parents came to this country. My dad came as a bracero, and so he worked in the fields. Brazos means arms. I'll give you a little history. Yeah, during World War II, when the men were off to war, there was a lack of men, and that's why women went into the warehouses and they worked. But they also brought hundreds and thousands of Mexican men to work the field so that they wouldn't rot, so that the economy could prosper. So my father was one of those men. So a lot of Mexican Americans that are here because of the Bracero program. So my parents brought me to this country when I was 5 years old, and I was undocumented for 13 years old. I grew up in Boyle Heights. I didn't know I was undocumented until I was about 12, 13. You know, like my sister wanted to go to college and she couldn't go because she was undocumented. And I was like, that means I can't go either, you know? And so it's very traumatic and painful. And I tell people, look, I was a dreamer before it was cool to be a dreamer, okay? I want credit for that, right? Because people say, oh, I'm a dreamer. And I go, well, that's wonderful. But, you know, girl, like I've been dreaming of going to college and everything. Thank God, though, that I got amnesty. Amnesty passed. And at 18 years old, I became a legal resident. Wow. And then I became a U.S. citizen.
Bravo.
And that's how I was able to go to college. I feel like, damn, like, why is my life so tough, you know? And then I go, well, you know what? I had a father who was very machista. He will admit it, you know? And I tell people, look, if I didn't have so many obstacles growing up, I probably would have given up a long time ago working in Hollywood. To me, like, people telling me no from the very beginning was what prepared me to say, oh, okay, you're going to be an obstacle? Well, wait, I'm going to come back in a way that you're not going to see me. And maybe being undocumented also prepared me, because to me, it's kind of like, all right, I'm not going to go through the front door. I'm going to find another way in. So I found another way in as a writer, as a producer, as an artistic director, you know. I tell people, look, sometimes the problem is not the problem. You think that someone saying no or not letting you in is the problem. In reality, you are bigger than what you think you are. So for me, it forced me to say, well, you can't be an actor because as an actress, you're going to be cast as, you know, especially when you're a full figure, like real women have curves. Woman, you're only going to be cast as the mamacita or the comadre or the maid. And it was me like saying, wait a minute, then I guess I'll have to write my own roles. And then when no one will produce my plays, and I'd be like, well, I guess I'm going to have to produce my own plays. And then when I couldn't get a theater to do my work, I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to own my own theater and be an artistic director. You know, and then like when Real Women Have Curves, the movie got made, I thought, oh my God, it's going to be easy from now on. And now I'm like, oh my God, don't tell me I'm going to have to learn to produce movies. And I did. So I produced a movie. And I'm like, oh my God, don't tell me I have to learn to be a distributor, which I'm still learning. But part of me is going, wait a minute, I should just own my own studio, you know, because that's what's next. And to me, I go, wow, I went from thinking I was this insignificant and small, you know, invisible, to now thinking, wait a minute, the problem isn't the problem. The problem is that you should be running a studio. Because if all these executives don't get it, and there's all this money to be made, because Latinos are like, we disproportionately go more to the movie theaters and we take all our kids. Right. Then there's money to be made that no one's accessing yet or is getting it. So then I went like, okay, you're bigger than what you think you are. You're more powerful than what you think you are, Josefina. Yes. And that's, you know, what my lesson here.
Yes. That was your gym growing up. It fortified you. It strengthened you. You know, it's like, I think everybody should have a slightly difficult childhood because it forces you to fight your way through.
Exactly.
No one is giving you anything. You're not entitled. You're like, no, wait a minute, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
I am taking that. Yeah. So it anchors you in
exactly. I grew up with absolutely no entitlement, and that's like I'm so appreciative of everything I have.
Amen.
I'm so grateful, and I think that's also why the universe helps me out.
Yes. God has your back.
Yeah, I do.
And you know that.
Yeah,
so
I do.
that's what gets you open doors, you know, favor.
Well, part of it is because when I walk in the door, there's a lot of people behind me, and there's a lot of people with me. It's not like, oh my God, it's all for me. It's more like, no, God, give me the courage, give me the strength, give me the creativity or the genius, whatever you need to give me. Because when I go in, everyone's coming in with me. You and I have been in this business long enough to know that there are people who say, oh yeah, I'll help you and this and that. And oh, we're Latinos, right? And you really believe them because that's who you are.
Like a rug.
Yeah. And then when the moment comes, they don't know you. Or they act like they don't know. And you go, oh my God, I'm having a Hollywood moment where you're totally pretending like we didn't have this conversation, like you said you were going to help me. That's why I think when people say, oh my God, Josefina, I want to be a writer, will you help me? And I go, yes, here's your first deadline. You know, come here. And then people are too scared because they're thinking, oh my God, she really believed me. And I say, yeah, if you tell me you want to be a writer, I believe you. I'm going to give you the work. But if you're not a writer, you're going to run away really quickly. So that's a comment I tell. No, don't tell me about your dreams because I believe you. I mean, if you're gonna sabotage yourself, well, that's on you.
I'm gonna hold
but it's
you
not
to
gonna
the
be
fire.
it's not gonna be me that's gonna hold you back. You know, I'm gonna tell you the tools and all the work you got to do because that's what I had to do. I will help you, but you got to put in the work and show me you really are a writer.
You came to Los Angeles when you were 5 with your family, and then you started going to school. What was the catalyst that got you to write?
I got admitted to the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts. I loved it there, and I had a wonderful theater teacher.
Back up. How did you even know about that school?
Well, I was studying drama at Roosevelt High School.
Oh, okay.
In my, in Boyle Heights. And they came in, and I swear to you, I really feel like God hears my prayers because I saw the movie Fame, and I swear to you, I went, God, please let there be a school like that because I'm going to high school and I really want to, And I swear to you, within a month, someone showed up to my drama class and says, we're opening a high school for the arts, just like Fame, at Cal State LA. And I was like, oh my God, this is a sign, right? And so you had to audition with a monologue. But I hadn't really studied theater that much. It was like my first month in theater. And so I went, God, I really need a monologue that I can do. And I was like, I don't know that many plays. So I said, you know what? I'm going to write my own monologue. Because you have to do a funny one and a dramatic one. So I said, I'm going to create 2 great. And so I wrote them. And so I auditioned. And they were blown away that I could write. They were like, you wrote them? I said, yeah. So I was allowed in. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like such a fraud. Because I don't have a theater background. I don't know anything. But I did really well. And what really did it, and I've shared the story so many times, and I love sharing the story, is that we were doing chorus line, right? And in chorus line, we had to wear leotards. And I was like, like a big girl. I'm still like pretty much the same size. And I was like, okay, I can't wear a leotard, So I decided to wear shorts, right? So my theater teacher, she said, why are you wearing shorts? You're supposed to wear leotards, right? I said, well, it's because, I don't feel comfortable showing my body. And she goes, okay. She goes, I just want to make sure, because she knew I was undocumented. She said, I just want to make sure it wasn't because of the money, because I want to give you the money if that's. I said, no, I just have to ask my parents for the money. But part of that is I just feel ashamed of my body. I was 18 years old. And she said, I've been wanting to talk to you about this. The dance teacher and I think you're so talented. We really believe that someday you could play Juliet and Lady Macbeth, and you have that kind of range. Not a lot of people have that range, but no one will ever cast you as the ingenue, as the lead. if you're not thin. And I was like, oh, like I was always afraid that someone was going to tell me that. That's why I hesitated becoming an actor, studying theater. But it was great that she finally told me this, because in that moment I went like, oh. Because I always, growing up, I thought, oh yeah, you have to be white and beautiful in order to be an actor. How dare I think that I could be, you know? So when she told me that, I was like, started crying, and she said, no, I'm not telling you because I think you should do this. I just want to tell you that unfortunately we live in a world where all the men write these roles. And they all want thin women, I guess, that they could rescue. So that she and I got upset, and I said, well, why does it have to be that way? I said, well, I guess because men do all the writing. I got really angry, and I was like, well, it should be that way. Because you know what? Real women get laid, you know? Real women have kids. Real women have all kinds of things, you know? And we even have more orgasms than thin women, I found out. Anyway, so then that's what that started me. So, you know, because I was like, okay, all right, I'll lose weight. And I tried losing weight for a month. And there was a part of me, my voice, my higher self, or God, said, well, you know, you'll lose weight, but then they're going to ask you to change your name because your name is Maria Josefina Lopez. You know, does it get more Mexican than that? So then I was like, that's right. They're going to ask me to change my name. Then they're going to ask me to change my hair color. Then they're going to ask me to give up being Mexican so that I can fit in. And I'm basically going to give up me to be an actor. And if I give up all of me, then what do I have left? As an actor, all you have is yourself. So there was a wisdom within me that said, no. You should not change. Society should change. There's something wrong where the men only want thin women because it's a reality that's not real. And then that's when I took up writing, because I said, okay, well, maybe I won't get to play the lead, but I want someone else to play the lead. And so to me, you know, seeing real women have curves on the big screen and seeing America Ferrera living this dream that I created made me go, here we go.
And you gave her start.
That's right.
That
to me makes
her life.
And you know, and this play has been done, it's had over 100 productions throughout colleges and high schools. And it really, for a lot of Latinas, is their first acting role. And to me, it makes me so happy. And I tell people, look, I wrote this play when I was 19. Right? There's no way I wrote it. Something used me to tell this amazing story about the value of women, of the sacredness of femininity. Because I didn't know these things, because I still am discovering this amazing story as all these women who played all these roles, they go, oh my God, I learned this about me. And I was like, I didn't know that. I was like, so I feel that I'm a channel, a vessel, that God or the divine says, no, we need to bring in the sacred feminine. We need to show women that they're powerful. We're using you to tell these stories. So I really feel, that's the kind of when people compliment me and I go, thank you, but I really feel like I'm just here as a secretary.
Yes, but you are obedient to the voice. Everybody's not obedient to the voice.
That's
you know, the Bible says, if you are about my business, I will be about your business. And because you are about God's business, I mean, what you're doing is God work. However way you want to call God, it's God work.
Yeah.
It's like to say, okay, Lord, what do you want? How do you want me to do it? I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down.
Well, you know what? And I've done that with a lot of plays. I wrote a play about a woman who's dying, and she works at a nursing home. And with the assistance of a cat who guides her, she finds people who want to die, who want to give her money for her surgery because she's dying. But because her hours were cut and she became part-time, she lost her health insurance.
Wow.
So then all these people say, I'll give you this money if you help me die because I'm ready to go. And she's like, oh. But this cat guides her to the people. And it was a very hard play to present because a lot of people didn't want to have the conversation about death and dying. But most of the male audiences didn't like it. The female audiences were like, oh my God, okay, all right. But I remember thinking, okay, God, you wanted me to write this play. And, you know, like, yes, everyone wants applause, but sometimes you go, no, sometimes you have to say something that's very hard and painful, and you have to be the person to say, look, I'm the messenger, and you may not like what I'm saying, but this is a conversation we need to have about how we die and about transcending the illusion of death and separateness and all that. You know, I've had to do stuff that I go, God, really? Okay, let me be the bad guy in the story, but I have to get this information out there. And people may hate me or hiss at me, but I'd be like, well, I had to be the one to take the blow, but I'll do it.
Guess what? I've got this fabulous little bundle just for you because you are a fabulous actor. I got it for you. So what do I got for you? Let me tell you what I got for you. I got the PR cheat sheet, which every actor needs. You need to know how to do your own PR until you get that job where you can pay for a PR person. Then I have the 12-step audition. That's another cheat sheet. You know, sometimes you get freaked out at auditions and you don't know what to do. Well, my 12-step audition cheat sheet will help you and guarantee that you will slam your audition every time. And the third thing I got for you is the casting sites. I have a list of casting sites so you can go and just submit yourself for that next big part. How does that sound? It sounds good, doesn't it? So you got this epiphany in high school of you being able to write to give other women the voice that was not out there.
And here's the thing, I set out to tell my story because I don't speak for all Latinas, because I've heard some Latinas say, well, you don't speak. I go, I've never intended. I just want to tell my truth, and if you identify with it, great. For me, it was more like, no, I want to tell the truth about like women. And so I told, my first play was Simply Maria, the American Dream, which is about my experience and the culture shock of being Mexican and growing up in the U.S. and parents disagreeing with your beliefs and thoughts.
And that got published early. That
got produced
early.
When I was 18 years old.
Wow.
At the California Young Playwrights Project. And then it became a PBS special, right?
Wow.
Then my second play is Real Women Have Curves, which I wrote after I worked in a sewing factory with my mother and my sister and a bunch of women. And to me, I wrote it because I was undocumented. And once I got my green card, I said, I don't ever want to be a shadow anymore. I want to own my humanity, and I want to write about these amazing women in a sewing factory and the fact that women are powerful when they work together.
Okay, so Real Women Have Curves. You were young when you did that. I mean,
that's right.
You were...
I was 19 when I started writing. Well, 18, and at 21 is really when I had a really good draft,
Who took you to HBO?
Okay, so it was a long journey because the play premiered in San Francisco at the Mission Cultural Center in 1990.
Wow.
And then I got a call from a producer at Warner Brothers. So they were interested in making it into a movie. But flash forward 11 years later, I worked with George LaVue, who's my co-writer and producer on Real Women Have Curves, and he's the one who shopped it around for 2 years to different places, and eventually went to HBO, and HBO said yes. And I tell people, it's because there was a female producer who could say yes. Women's stories matter, mother-daughter stories matter, and that's why it got made, because there was someone
Was that
there.
Effie Brown, or was that...
Well, it was Effie Brown, it was Maud Nadler, who was the executive, and then she hired Effie Brown, So it wasn't like right away. Because, I was 21 and I was already a member of the Writers Guild, and I had a contract with Warner Brothers, and I was really confused and lost because I didn't know how anything worked. And, it was my first job adapting a play to screenplay, which I've learned a lot since then.
So I met you early. I met you probably after Simply Maria. How did you connect with John Mercedes?
So we know each other through John Mercedes. That's right.
God bless John Mercedes.
I met him at Luis Valdez's 50th birthday party.
Wow.
And that's how we connected, because I had just gotten a deal with Warner Brothers and I needed an agent. So I asked Luis, you recommend me to your agent? And he goes, sure. And then, and then John Mercedes was like, wait a minute, you're like 21 years old, they're producing your plays at Teatro Campesino, and you have a deal with Warner Brothers? Okay, we got to work together.
The amazing thing about John was that he was CHARLENE Tilton's
He discovered her
manager.
at a t-shirt shop and turned her career in a year, put her on Dallas. So he's like one of those... amazing manager.
Yeah, and he was crazy, but he had an eye.
He was crazy like a fox.
Yes, he was. But he had such an eye for talent, and he had such an eye for, he could see what needed to be done. And so that's how I met you, through John, because John would come to the Comedy Store and he goes, you're really good, but you work too hard. You got to learn to work smarter, not harder. And I said, well, what does that mean, John? He says, just work smarter. I said, I don't know what that means. And so he started bringing you to the clubs, because when I would go to clubs,
we were scouting talent to try to sell shows.
Yes.
At the time, everybody was looking for the big brown Latino comedian. And so we were like, who's that? And try to create a show around them,
And you were young. I mean, because I was young. So
I
know
was
you
21,
were young. So I was only like 28, 27, 28. I just remember how diligent you were. That was a man business, to be in the clubs at night, and it's a little unsavory. And
I remember I had a talk with you because I actually wanted to be a stand-up comedian. You set me straight and you said, girl, your material is too sexy. She goes, you can do your material, but men are going to follow you to the parking lot.
That's right.
And then now I tell people, look, I still want to be a stand-up comedian, and now I want someone to follow me to the parking lot.
Now you can
Now be like, oh yeah, come on to the parking lot right there. But I scare the hell out of it. When you're young, you're like, oh, now you're like, oh, see, 2 kids and like 3 husbands. Vente pa' acá. Now they run from me. me.
It's you gotta have,
no, but it was real.
yeah,
It
you
was
gotta
real.
have balls of steel. You know, my thing is tell the truth.
Yeah.
You tell the truth. If that's what you want to do, then you gotta alter it. You know, and back then, now it's so much better. I
Yeah.
think for women in
Well,
so many.
it's gotten better because now we can talk about it.
Right.
Right.
But it is so much better. It's better in that, first of all, we didn't have access to cameras. We didn't have the money to have access to cameras. We didn't have the technology. And now there is no excuse to do your stuff. I just wanted to talk about John Mercedes because I think it's important that we recognize those people that open doors in a certain way or mentor us in a certain way.
I think he was one of the first people who said, you know, we have to open a Latino studio. We have to do our own, create our own. And I think because I was mentored by him so young, and I saw how he, you know, one of the tricks he did was he would always sell the sizzle without the meat.
That's right.
I was able to see, like, a lot of mediocre people get ahead with just the sizzle. Eventually catches up to them, but you can get away. Yeah. No, 90, believe me, I've observed, and he and I would observe. And so I learned so many lessons. And I said, okay, in the service of what I'm doing, I'm going to use these tricks, you know, and they work. But he was really the one who put it in my head that don't wait for the opportunity, go create it. And this is how easily, it's so easy to create it, you declare it. You know, like one of the things he taught me was, in one of the press releases, he said that I was the most produced Latina playwright in the country, which I was like, horrified, because I was like, I don't think I am, you know, like, I was only like 23 or something like that. And he goes, no, we declare it. Watch it become the truth. At least it was a declaration that all the journalists picked up on. And then when my plays have got produced. He
also was a master publicist. He knew how to craft an article or a press release.
How do you present something where it's not lying, but it gives you a powerful framework so that everybody can see you, right? Because so much of what we do is about setting up a context that's powerful, that suits us, and that people buy it and they go, all right, we can invest in you because we believe in you.
That's what white people do all the time.
Exactly, right? That us is like, we're like, oh, no, we're so humble. We're like, no, you know.
We're not worthy.
Yeah, it's a whole Catholicism BS that we've been mind programmed.
That's right. So now you write and you get to produce. Real Women Have Curves.
I was the co-writer. I can't say I'm the producer. I produced 2 other features.
So George LeVoux came in with you.
We adapted the screenplay.
The play to the screenplay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like my 3rd attempt at adapting it. Because I had done several attempts.
Okay.
And so we had to open it up. We had to take it out of the factory and really like explore other ways of telling the story.
And you did a beautiful job with it. Because sometimes plays that are adapted,
they look like the play, Which again, you know, there's all kinds of presenting things. Just depends because you know,
it was beautiful. It was very cinematic. It was lovely. So now you got a taste of success in a global way, mainstream.
That's right, because it won Sundance. It won the audience award.
It went from Latino to mainstream.
Yeah, that was amazing. People say, when did you know it was a hit? And I said, when I was in the audience at the premiere. And it was the men that were crying. I was like, there's a guy making all kinds of weird noises. And I was like, oh, that's how men cry. Like, it really hit me that there were a lot of men who stood up and said, this is my story. Where it transcended gender. And I went, oh, it's about all of us being judged for the way we look instead of our soul, instead of who we really are. And also, everybody wants their parents' blessing. And sometimes we don't get it, but we still have to become adults, you know.
The first night I went to see it, Friday night at the Grove. Yes. It was sold
out. I wish I could have been there, but I was pregnant and I had a baby and I couldn't go. And I was like, and my friends would say, oh my God, Josefina, it's sold out. There's lines of people. It's like, and I was like, take pictures because like I'm here breastfeeding and I can't go.
It was sold out. And I remember sitting there and go, oh my God, something is really happening. You know, because I came from Stand and Deliver and we were waiting for that Latino movement.
Decade of the
Latino. This is the year of the Latinos. This is the year of the Latinos. But to sit in that room and in that theater and see people of all colors come in the theater. It wasn't just a Latino audience. It was all kinds of people. That was the beauty for me, to see, wow, look at this. You have this incredible success for a minute, right? For a minute, you have it. And then what happened?
You know, I got like another movie from HBO about the murders in Juarez. And they said they were going to make it. Nothing happened. But I didn't get many offers after that. You know, when people talk, oh, we want authentic stories and women's stories. I'm like, I've been here, like, telling authentic women's stories. I go, oh, white women's stories, right? And that's how come like people say, oh, so what do you think of Lady Bird, you know? And I go, okay, I guess they want authentic white women's stories. I know, when people say that, I just smirk and I go, okay, yeah, right. You know, I've been trying to do this for 30 years and you want this now?
Because you are not somebody to be denied. How much longer from then did you start Casa 0101?
Well, I had already started Casa in 2000.
Oh, you did? Okay.
But after the success of the movie at Sundance, I said, you know what? I'm going to do the play so people in LA can see it. And so I produced it at Little Casa. And so a lot of people came. And then I got a grant to teach screenwriting. Casa was just starting, so when the movie came out, more people came to my screenwriting classes. You know, more people started to hear about the theater, and we started doing more plays and work.
Wow.
So it was really, it was like God pushing, saying, all right, let's help you out here for your theater, you know.
There had to be a vision or a goal that you go, okay, I got this, now I want something bigger.
I've always wanted to start a theater in my own community because I wanted to empower people to tell their own stories. So for me, the vision was, we're going to nurture the future storytellers of Los Angeles who will someday transform the world. I taught playwriting classes and screenwriting classes. But my dream has always been like, let's tell our stories, Latinos, all the stories that are not being made on film or TV. Let's do it for ourselves. And then again, at that time, I wasn't aware, but I said, oh, because we need to acknowledge all the wounding, but also all the successes. American history books have denied, that TV and this mainstream denies. We're going to acknowledge everything that's real for ourselves.
So there's a quote that you said in your TED Talk, which people should watch if they haven't seen it, which I think is amazing. But you took your pain and you put it on the page.
That's right.
I love that.
I tell people, look, I started to write because my parents wouldn't take me to a therapist. I'm empathic. What that means is that I feel other people's feelings. And now what I know as an adult woman who's a healer is that I not only feel people's feelings, I pull negative feelings out of you. And I absorb them, I clean them up, and I send back your energy. That took a toll on me because I understand that's what I was here to do. So for me, writing was the way I was able to channel all that pain, because it wasn't just my pain, it was my family's pain, people's pain. I took up the pen so I wouldn't take the knife and cut my own wrists because I was suicidal. I suffered from depression. I've done a lot of spiritual work, and I know that it wasn't just depression. It was also like attention deficit disorder that was undiagnosed, which is connected to the spiritual connection I have, but also a little bit of OCD. And so I had a bunch of things that I just had to struggle on my own. And so for me, putting it on the page made things real. Because what happens was when you're suffering, people deny your pain, right? People say, oh, you're just overreacting. Or like racism, you feel the impact in you. But people say, oh, you're overreacting. It doesn't happen. It does, you know, thank God for all these cameras that are capturing all the racism, that our body took the punches, emotional punches and spiritual punches, but people deny it. And when you put it on paper, it becomes real. It becomes like, no, I'm not crazy. No, I'm not overreacting. No, I'm not this crazy, fucked up person that you want to dismiss me as. I am a feeling human being, and anger is the proper response to being oppressed.
And you also make a comment in that TED Talk, which is art is a safe way to be outraged.
To express out your outrage, yeah. I thought I was an artist, and I realized, oh, art is the way we make things whole again. Because trauma is what divided you, separated you, caused you to leave your body or to feel disconnected and broken. But art is the attempt to make things whole again. And that's why when you paint something and you take all these broken pieces of yourself, you are psychologically playing in the unconscious mind, but you're making things whole. You know, everything that art does is about saying, look, nothing is disconnected or divided or broken. It's actually already whole. It's the illusion. And by doing art, you kind of chip away at this delusion and illusion of separateness.
Yeah, art is healing. If you're being true to the art, you are bringing good medicine.
Yeah, art is medicine, honestly. But art is the safe way that we allow this experience to be. Because, you know, Western culture has totally robbed us of so much of our humanity and so much of our healing ability. And the shamans and all these people who were revered in tribes and communities, they got rid of them, you know. So they're disguised as artists.
Right. So you started Little Casa, and then you decided it was time for the big house. Tell us, what is Casa 0101?
What does it mean? Well, I was in a webmastering class at UCLA, and the webmastering teacher was so passionate. He talked about how 01 is the original language of computers. This is the way they communicate. But we live in a duality, right? Black and white, male, female. The illusion of separateness is the cause of all suffering. So that's where drama comes out of trauma. And so when 0 and 1 become 1, there will be no more suffering, there will be no more drama, and there will be no more theater. So that's why it's called Casa 01, 01. I know some people go, like, look at me, and I go, no. To me, it was like, yeah, the beginning of drama starts with the idea that you're separate from others. You know, and that's what trauma does to you.
Wow.
That you're alone and nobody cares. But when you finally feel whole again and you feel connected to others, there's a oneness that happens. And there's no more drama.
And while you were still at Little Casa, you were starting your writing classes with people.
I started playwriting workshops. Well, you know, some of our plays have come out of those workshops.
Do you remember your first class?
I do, because no one came. And I was like, oh my God, it's a free writing class. How come no one wants to? And then luckily one lady showed up late. She was my very first student, and I was so grateful that she came. And then I was like, wait a minute, the cashier at the liquor store next door said she wanted to take a class. Let me go get her. So I had 2 students, and then we just did writing exercises, and that was the beginning. You know, I didn't come from like, oh my God, everybody's going to come learn from me. It was more like, okay, whoever shows up is exactly who you need to help. Or even just not even, I don't come from the approach of like, oh, you know, people are broken and I got to fix them. It's more like, no, whoever shows up, they're showing up because they want to discover that they are powerful. And I just want to guide them to understand their story. Because so much of healing for me is helping people understand the drama that they live in, that they create. Because that's what I learned. So much of drama is the trauma that you project out into the world that you're not even aware of. So I tell people how you created the trauma, how you can heal it, how you can silence. I mean, you know, like, so it's also
and
spiritual class.
The childhood issues.
Yeah, because that you know, I tell people like happy people who have no trauma are not writers. They're like having a good time. You know, they're having a calm, simple experience because they're taking a break from other past lives where they had too much trauma. So the people that come to writing classes, I tell people, look, you're here because you have a trauma that's at least 10 years old that wants to be heard, that wants to be expressed, that wants to be healed. So no matter what you're writing about, it's a trauma that's at least 10 years old. And people look at me and I said, no, I am somewhat psychic, but I can tell you, I can guarantee you that what you want to write is about a moment where you got stuck in life. And it usually happened around the age of 5 and 6. And people look at me and I say, no. I do these series of exercises where people find out the themes of their stories. And by finding out the themes of the stories, I can tell you what happened, what was the trauma at 5 years old. You know, like I tell people, look, before you reincarnated, you had to have a screenplay that you wrote that had to get approved by these 12 masters, and then they let you have a body. So I'm at the point where I go, oh, let me tell you what your screenplay is about. Like the inciting incident is age 5. Let me tell you what a turning point is, age 12. Let me tell you another turning point, age 18 to 21. And let me tell you what the theme is, the theme of this, and let me tell you why. Part of it is because in your past life, you did horrible things, and now you're paying the karma in this lifetime. People look at me and I go, I know, like after doing this for so long, I go, let me just give you all this information because instead of you searching for 10 years trying to figure out what you're writing about, I'm just going to tell you. And then you really can get to the work.
So one of the programs that you started was Chicanas, Cholas, y Chisme.
You know, in theater, just like in Hollywood, in the film industry, it's male dominated, right? Majority of the playwrights and producers are male. And so then I said, oh my God, like we've been doing all this amazing work celebrating Latinos and women, but the majority of the directors are men. And it was something that I was blind to because, you know, we had no budget. So for me, a lot of the people that I hired were friends who basically understood, look, you've got to work under ridiculous conditions and still do a great job. And then I said, oh my God, you know, it's not enough that we tell women's stories. Women have to be a part of the creative process, you know, and here I am, the artistic director, I can do something about it.
Now, did you start that once you got into the new building, or you were still doing it
in the new building? Okay. Yeah. We came to the Casa, Big Casa in 2011.
But altogether, you're in your 18th year. You started in 2000?
Well, in 2000, yeah. Programming started in 2002. September 9th, 2011 is when we officially opened the big space. So so I was realizing that we needed women directors, but the very few women directors I knew like were Ivy League trained and they charged a lot of money and I couldn't afford them. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start a women's directing class and I'm going to teach it because I know how to direct. I don't direct because I'm busy doing everything else. You know, I'm a producer, I'm artistic director, I'm a mother and activist. So that's why I don't direct. But I said, but I can teach women how to direct. And so I created this series where I invited all these male directors who I knew to come talk about their process. And then at the end, I said, okay, now that we have these women, we need to get material that they can direct. It's like simple short stories to get their feet wet, you know? And then there was a playwriting class that had all these amazing women playwrights. And there was one particular playwright who was an ex-chola from Venice. Her name is Lindsay Haley, who was a veterana, right? And I loved her play because it was about two cousins. One grew up, they both grew up in the barrio, but one left to the suburbs and tried to acculturate and pass for white and basically try to have an easy life. And the other one was like, stay true to her roots. It was in the hood. And they had some kind of breakup because there was some kind of drive-by. They basically put one of the sons in prison and the other one got blamed. You know, a very complicated story. But I said, oh my God, this is an amazing story. We need to tell it because it really serves the mission of this theater. I had written so much material that I said, okay, do this. And then we basically scrambled for material and we did the first presentation. It was very successful. And then we said, but wait a minute, we should have a workshop now where we have these women directors work with the playwrights or can also write their own material. So we started this program to mentor Latinas to write, direct, and produce. And we did it again, and it was very successful because as soon as you tell one woman, like, oh my God, you know, like you empower her. Yeah, she basically tells her story.
That's it.
She invites her family, and her community comes, and it becomes a celebration of these women telling their stories. So we would sell out, and we're like, oh my God, we sold out. Like, so we've done it for 6 years now, and it's our most successful production because women bring their community.
What time of year do you do that?
So we usually do it in March, which is Women's History Month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically the whole month of March and some of April, like 4 to 6 weeks on the weekends, and it's just been wonderful.
The program starts in March, or you start
The program
showing the plays
starts
in March?
in September. The writing goes for about 3 months.
Okay.
And then we choose the plays from
Oh, that's
from that.
fantastic.
And then in January, we start casting, and then we start directing and producing. And yeah, we teach women a lot of the skills they need. They don't have to produce it here. They can say, look, I have the skills. I can go produce it at other theater companies. And I go, yeah.
So another thing that Casa
01
does is browning out.
In this workshop, I start to see that there was a pattern of seeing LGBTQ writers writing about how they were the perfect immigrant son for their immigrant parents, but at night, they would have this double life where they would get to be gay. And so I thought about how tragic it is to have to live a double life, that you can't really be whole, that you're divided. So then I said, oh, well, we should do a festival to celebrate being LGBTQ so that other people can see that, look, you can be a whole person. There's nothing wrong with you. God didn't make a mistake. You know, when people tell me da-da-da-da, I go, you know what? Do you believe in God? I say, yeah. Do you think God made a mistake 10% of the time? Because if 10% of the population is gay, or, you know, then does the God screw up 10% of the time? And they're like, I go, well, then, you know what? Maybe there's a purpose we don't understand. Or maybe one of the lessons that we are going to learn is that we are not our bodies. We are our spirit. You know, that's really who we are. And this is one lesson that we're learning for the LGBTQ community. The other thing, too, that I want to tell people, the reason why we celebrate that is because I go, you know what? Majority of people have sexual shame. I know this because as an empath, I feel when I pick up on it, it's like snakes, energy snakes, right? I mean, in Hollywood, you feel tons of men. There's so much sexual shame that I feel like, you know what? If we can tell stories where people get to express themselves and celebrate their sexuality in whatever way it's organically coming out of them and, you know, whatever, then I think it's wonderful because we need to eradicate sexual shame because it's the worst kind of, we need to eradicate shame, but sexual shame is the lowest energy. So then to me, I go, you know what? We will live in a better world where people stop being ashamed of being sexual human beings because our sexuality is connected to our creativity.
Yes.
I think I scare the hell out of people because I'm so comfortable talking about sex and being a sexual being and also being extremely creative because I see the connection between the two.
Well,
you know?
because you're honest.
And I'm honest. And I
You're
go,
honest.
you know what? And more than even honest, I'm authentic and real, which sometimes scares the hell out of men because they're like, oh my God, we've never met someone this assertive about sex. When I was in 5th grade, I decided that I was going to read every book on sexuality that was out there at the library, at the Benjamin Franklin Library. I read Our Bodies Ourselves and even a book called Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex But We're Afraid to Ask.
That was a huge book.
Yeah. I read everything because I knew my parents were never going to talk to me about sex. And I just observed that a lot of young women got pregnant. And I said, I am not going to be that girl that says, oops. I was like, no. That's not going to happen to me.
I don't know if this was the conversation in your family, but my mother's conversation, keep your ears open and your legs closed.
Yeah.
That was the conversation. was like, what? And then I went to Catholic school. So it is embedded in you over and over and over again. It's perpetual.
Exactly, right? So I knew
offense.
that I didn't want to live my life that way. So I had to completely change the way I saw sexuality. And for me, you know, I tell people, when I've had sex for the first time, I didn't lose my virginity. I gained my whole self. I gained my whole self-expression. I remember how special it was, and I felt so powerful after. I didn't feel like I was robbed of anything or that I was less than, because my mother would say, "Oh no, amiga,
that's a movie."
Yeah, exactly. Well, kind of real women have curves that moment.
No.
But even more than that.
But that's the journey of self-discovery at an early age, because we're not taught that. Girls are not taught that, you know, and you have so many kids out there, their hormones are raging, they're having sex and they don't understand.
But also the duality of, like, if you really prepare for it, you're a whore. But if you're just caught up and surprised and take it in the moment, oh wow, passive participant, and then you're not a whore, but then you're knocked up or pregnant, you know. So to me, I said, I'm going to be really active. I'm going to, you know, to me it was very special.
No, I think that's a story. I just think
there's tons of stories about that.
No, but I think that's a beautiful story. The curiosity, you know, I want to know what this is, because nobody's going to tell me.
And it's funny because I remember when my parents saw my books, my mother brought it to and my dad looked at it, and I thought they were going to get angry and start calling me names. I could see how embarrassed my parents were about sex and sexual shame, that they said, well, that's good. That way we don't have to talk to you about it. They were relieved because they were left off the hook. Because I was like, okay, whatever they're going to say to me, I'm going to say, look, knowledge is power, you know?
So you started these programs. So you got Brown and Out, you got Chicanas, Cholas, and Chisme. You also had the Boyle Heights Latina
Independent Film Extravaganza, DH Life. Yeah.
And so you had to stop it because of funding.
And, you know, I could come up with 100 programs that we need, you know, to help heal the community. But yeah, we don't have... my husband, who's the executive director, is always telling me, where are we getting the money? Because the idea behind that was that we wanted to have a film festival of movies that were directed by women. We really wanted to be a platform, and it was wonderful. We did it like 4 times, and we need to get funding, and we need a director. And right now, you know, we're struggling financially.
So let's talk about money. You have taken this and really created something wonderful. And for people who have not been down here, who live in Los Angeles, they need to do a trip. They need to come and see theater. They need to see this incredible space, because the theater is beautiful.
Thank you.
Your theater rivals a lot of theaters in Hollywood.
We are one of the best theaters in Los Angeles as far as technology. We're a state-of-the-art theater that's comparable to the Red Cat, which they have,
which is beautiful.
They have tons more money than we do. So people are shocked that we have a 99-seat theater that has this incredible technological capacity, and it's also a great space.
It's a gem in Boyle Heights. First of all, then you have a wonderful museum.
That's right. I started the Boyle Heights Museum, and on our walls in the hallway is an exhibit right now commemorating the 50th anniversary of the walkouts, you know, in East Los Angeles and Boyle Heights.
And we declare that you will get a Victorian house.
That's right.
Near here, that you can house the whole
there's my museum.
Yeah. So you got this incredible space. Beautiful theater. I'm going to say it again. It's a beautiful theater. Then you opened up an incredible restaurant, Casa.
That's
Fina.
right.
What's the address?
It's 1842 East 1st Street, which is only about 2.5 blocks away from the theater. We purposely did that so people could go have dinner there first and then come see a show.
And it's about maybe 4 blocks away from the freeway.
Yeah, actually, no, it's really even closer than that.
Okay.
2 blocks, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Casa Fina and your love of food.
I have this love of food because, you know, I was like, I'm one of 8. And my mom said she had me like right after my brother, right? So I'm like 9 months apart from my brother. Wow. And so we were competing for the breast. So I probably didn't get enough leche. I did, because my brother was bigger. So I think that was a part of me that said, I didn't get enough nurturing. Give me more leche, you know? But this idea of like community and food is so special to me, you know, because I tell people, like, if I had to choose between sex and dessert, guess what? I'm picking dessert. I look at the cake and I go, man, I'm doing that cake, you know?
And you are a chef.
And yes, I studied at Cordon Bleu.
Wow.
Which my sisters still can't get over it, because, you know, they used to make fun of me because I didn't cook. Like, I could do anything, but cooking is like, And then I said, okay, I'm going to go I was living in Paris, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go get a degree. I'm going to go become a chef, you know, at Cordon Bleu. And so I did that. And I also wrote a novel called Hungry Women in Paris. And so it was my way of learning cuisine, but also totally diving into this world of the senses, you know, and writing a book about it.
How long did you live in Paris?
I lived there 18 months.
Wow.
With my husband, who's, you know, French American. And I learned a lot of things. I learned that it's easier to be an immigrant here than it is to be in France, especially when you look like an Arab woman. Like you and I would be harassed all the time, because I was like, oh my God, I thought it was tough being a Latina, but an Arab woman in France is like so much harder.
I had somebody yell at me on the bus. Another Arab woman.
They thought you were like,
she was screaming at me on the bus
because you weren't covered up or something, or
and I don't know what she was saying. I was saying, I don't know what you're saying. I'm American, and my sister was on the other side of the bus. Stop picking fights with people. To me, I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
she's yelling at me.
I think it's because you probably weren't covered up, and you were saying, "¿Qué puta? ¿Qué estás haciendo?" And you're like, "I'm not a puta. I'm just an American woman." Like,
she was like going off. And I'm like, I don't speak whatever you speak. I don't speak it.
I'm Mexican. Like, yeah, or whatever. That's my thing. Is like, no, I'm not. I'm Mexicana, right? No, I got racially profiled at the airport. So I told my husband, I'm not going to France unless it's your mother's funeral, because I don't want to go back there and get like, harassed.
So what is one of the things that you got from Cordon Bleu that really like changed you?
I loved feeling alive. Because, you know, when you have ADD, you always feel bored because you're disconnected in many ways from your body. But when you're cooking, you can feel like the smell and you can touch the food, and I felt so alive. So for me, in the adrenaline rush of making food really quickly and someone judging you, it's such an intense experience that it was my ADD, like adrenaline, like addiction, you know? So that's what I love. But I also love sauces. I love the way things live in my mouth, and there's like a journey in my mouth. To me, it's a real like visceral experience that a lot of people may just eat, but I'm like, oh no. You know, the other thing is because I'm empathic, it's like when I drink wine, I can see where the wine came from. I can see so many images. So for me, food is something that's so inspiring, you know? We would go to the markets and then like I went to Hangis, which is like the world's biggest supermarket. It's a whole city devoted to food. So they have cheese as big as like tractor wheels. Every kind of food, flour, cheese, and it was like, oh my God, like, you know, like incredible. Yeah.
What kind of food should we eat?
We have authentic Mexican cuisine. So, you know, what everyone usually gets is like the margaritas and the guacamole, but we have everything. There's some certain dishes that take a long time that those we don't have because like barbacoa, you know, if you're really going to do it right, it's like 8 hours in a pit in agave, and, you know, it's very complicated. But everything else, we have just about everything that you can think of.
When is it open? Daily?
So it's Monday through Friday. We actually open 7 days a week, and it's 11 a.m. to 9 Monday through Thursday. And then Saturday, we serve breakfast, like more like brunch.
On the weekends?
On the weekend, yeah. Saturdays and Sundays, we open at 9 a.m. On Saturdays, we close at midnight. And again, if the party's going really great, then we'll keep it open, right? But Sundays, we close at 9. Yeah.
Okay. And Fridays?
Fridays is from 11 to midnight.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, we basically want people to go have dinner, come back here, and if they're really inspired, go to the Cantina and talk about the play, you know? Or to also for actors to go over there and hang out, because in this neighborhood, everything kind of closes early.
Yes.
So we're like, oh no, we need a place that could stay late so that people can just walk over and talk to their friends who they've seen in a show, or just people to connect, you know. We wanted to open this restaurant so that we could get the profits and use the profits to pay for Casa. It's very challenging to open a restaurant. Now it's 2 big babies that we got to take care of. It's like overwhelming.
So now let's go back to the money. This space is to give back to the community, but you can't give back if you don't have the money to keep it open. For people listening out there, how can we help you continue the vision?
So we are asking for people to become monthly reoccurring donors. What that means is you give us $25 a month and we can pay for our rent, our electricity, the insurance, and all the basics just to keep the building open. Because, you know, people say, well, why didn't you get a grant? And I go, you know, like, we've applied for tons of grants, but a lot of grants, they want to give you money for children's programming, which is great. But nobody wants to pay for the building. No one wants to pay for an administrator. No one wants to pay for anything that's not sexy. Because like helping children and saving children, everyone wants to do it. But it's like, well, how do we create all this programming for children if we don't have someone to administrate this program, or we don't have a place to house it? So that's the challenge, is that there's a deficit in these areas of, like, you know, the basics.
So here's the challenge I'm going to give to those of you listening, that you would give a minimum of $50 a month to help keep this place alive. because this is ours. This is not the cat. This is not the Geffen. This is ours. This woman has taken it upon herself to put it out there for this community. And this is our community. You know, we can talk about how Hollywood we want, but Hollywood is not giving us anything. So that if you make the commitment, just like PBS says to you, if you do this, we'll give you this bottle. Well, if you do this, you not only get a bottle, but you get to be a part of someone's life. You get to impact them. You know, I go to church and they always ask us for money for different things that they want to do, like wells in Africa and feeding underprivileged children and homeless and whatever. We will write checks. Well, this is one of those write check moments.
And here's the thing. We offer free acting classes for children. Majority of the programming for children is free, you know, and everything else is by donation. Part of the reason we do that is because we want to keep the arts accessible. People say, well, why don't you just charge more money? And I go, yeah, but then see, we're in a community that's getting gentrified. I don't want to do that because I want to keep it affordable. Mm-hmm. You know, like the income here is very small compared to the West Side, or, you know, so to me, it's like, I want people to be able to afford to go to the theater because it's already seems inaccessible because there's some elitism going around.
It changes your mission and your vision of what you want.
And then the other thing that people tell us is, oh, why don't you get subscribers? And I go, you know what? Unfortunately, a lot of our community here doesn't understand that or doesn't have the means to get a subscription for the whole.
As an artistic community, we need to rally around you and help you so that the vision that you had, which was to give free programming to kids, teenagers, adults, to learn craft, which no one is doing for our community. Yeah. We need to be regular givers, monthly givers, with a minimum of $25.
Minimum of $25.
I think we could do $50.
And if you can't be a monthly recurring donor, you could just make a one-time donation.
And you can also come in and volunteer.
Yes, come and volunteer.
Necessity.
And if not, just buy tickets.
I support you. I say, everybody, you can give that money. And you can make it your Taco Tuesday money.
That's right.
You can give it instead of going
Get ready
to the
for
taco.
The beach, right? No
That's
tacos.
Right. That's right. This theater needs your love. It needs you to embrace it, because if we don't do for ourselves, you know, I have heard time and time and time again how nobody's helping Latinos. Well, it's for us to help ourselves. No one is going to help us. We have to start our own studios. What you were saying earlier, we tend to picket and fight when it's too late. How are you going to boycott the Oscars? It's too late. The movies are already out. What they're going to go, oh my God, let's make a movie right now for next week so we can put it in contention for the Oscar. No, we have
Although I was protesting, just because I said, look, every year I'm going to be here protesting.
Yeah, but it's too late, Mama.
I know, but I'm saying it's not going to happen, one, unless there's more Latino executives, there's more Latinos putting down their money to make movies. No, and I totally get your point.
So my thing about that is that if we really want to make that kind of impact, we need to buy stocks in the company and go to their stockholders meetings.
Exactly.
I've been privileged to be able to go to stockholders meetings. That's where the decisions are made. I've seen stupid things get implemented because a stockholder got on the microphone and said, I want this. Yes. And then the next year they had it. I was like, is that easy? Because when you protest, they've already figured out what they're doing for the year.
But I mean, the protests are like long term too. It's like 5 years from now, 10. I know, I understand.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
but I think it's good
your
to do both.
protest.
Yeah.
Your protest.
See, but I do it all. I write, direct, produce, and I protest.
They don't hear us. When I first came out here, it was nosotros that was boycotting and protesting and demanding and
and the National Hispanic Media Coalition.
And on and on and on. Nothing wrong with that. But unless we as a community are willing to take our dollars and say, you know what, we are not buying that. We're not buying Furious 95.
No, exactly.
We support you, and you haven't supported us.
And the other thing that...
The big problem, though, is that we don't support ourselves. We don't want to invest in Latino projects. I heard somebody recently say to me, a Latina, I just don't like those kind of projects. But how can you demand we make projects for Latinos if you're not going to support it? Latinos always saying, well, blacks are able to do this, but They put their money where their mouth is. They go the first night of the
Friday
the
night
screening.
they go, or even Thursday night. Yeah,
They're in it. They go. Whether they like it or not, they go. We want to assimilate. That kills us.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And that's why as much money as we spend, we're not fortified enough. We don't lock arms with each other like Cesar Chavez used to have people do and say, we're not going.
Yeah.
We're going over here. You want our money? You come over here. When that happens.
And it's true because like Cesar Chavez, I was there at midnight, like Friday, like 12:05. And it was tragic because the Latinos went to see Godzilla instead. And it was like, oh my God, Cesar Chavez and Godzilla did so well because the Latino community didn't go out and support it. Yeah.
Here's an opportunity for you now to shift that around. Donate monthly to Casa 0101, because that's my dyslexia.
Yeah.
And really just put your money into a community that is going to benefit. Give this organization the money so that they can do these incredible programs. You know, we need more Latino voices, but if they're not being trained, if they're not being groomed, if they're not being educated, we can't have what we say we want. So this is a great space to learn and educate, and she's willing to teach. Get up, go to your computer, Casa0101.org. Donate, make the commitment, just do it for the next year. Make the commitment that you are going to give every month something to this organization. Sacrifice from your lattes or your tacos or whatever it is, or your weed, whatever it is that you're going to give to the cause, because they need it now. She's done an excellent job for the last 18 years, but now is the time for the community to give back to this community here. And Casa0101.org is where you can give your money and make a difference. Make a difference with our people. When you see who comes out of here, you will feel better. And one of the things I want to say about somebody who's really benefited from working here has been Ingrid Oliu.
Oh, yeah.
One of my sisters from Stand and Deliver, that she really benefited from here. This is her home.
This is a great actress. I love working with her, and I want her to be in all her productions. Yeah.
We need more. But we can't have more if we don't have money and resources to put. And they need development money. They need money that they can hold more classes so that they don't charge the kids, the adults, the women, gay, lesbian community. Give, 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 give. You will feel so much better. I'm telling you, you will feel better. And if you can't give, support in other ways. Volunteer, buy tickets. Post on all your social media. Every time, go on the website and see what they're doing and put the word out, because it's also word of mouth. If we put word of mouth and we make this the place to be, everybody wins. Everybody wins.